pretty much a new class instance is what it's called. It's basically a new version or a new class instance. I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain that. It's basically just saying we're creating a brand new robot here. This robot is going to be based off of all this information right here. So one thing, the reason why it's important is that if we do robot.new and we create a new robot, let's say we can say the one is steel, and then we can make the other one made of diamond. So they're still the same. We don't have to create a new diamond robot or a class diamond bot or a class steel bot. We can create a new robot and then make it a diamond plated robot or a steel plated robot. That could be our choice and something that we can do when we pass on information right here. So this would allow us to not have to write new classes for every single robot, just for minor changes between each one. It's very useful. I'll go into that a little more soon. So there's still a lot of things that you probably won't get to learn just yet. So going back over that, we want to, because just like the reason I showed you, you might have one robot that has diamond plating, another one that has steel plating. You want to be able to reference the steel one and the diamond one differently. So we may want the diamond one to do something and the steel one not to do something when we're calling up code. So we have to save it, and in order to save and store the information, we have to create a new variable. So I showed you guys how to do this. The $sign followed by the name creates a new variable, and then we hit equals in order to say that equals robot.new. So this sets a brand new robot to this variable here. So the variable stores the class. So it's basically storing a brand new instance of class robot. So then we can manipulate that however we want, simply by calling basic steel robot. I'll get into that more later. There's still a lot we need to learn before I can get into more and how it works. So you might be sitting here thinking, but how does it work? And just know that we'll be going to that shortly. So let's see. Maybe. Wow, we have time going down quick. All right, so class robots. Let's go ahead and jump into the variables again. We're going to create what is called an class variable, instance variable. I don't know the exact term, but I'll show you how to do it and how it works. So the add variable is what I'll just call it for now. At let's say plating, because I was talking about plating earlier. So at plating. So that would be we would be calling a variable here. We could do at plating equals steel. So that would make it so every steel robot or every robot has the plating steel. So we can't really, this is not a legal operation, by the way. We can't actually do what I'm doing right now and expect it to work. We're going to have to do something a little different. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into variables, especially when we're writing them for the class instance or the class. So the at variable is also, if you want to create an at variable or a class variable, we go attr and then we type either writer. Oh wait, don't want to forget one thing. This little colon lets the code know that we are, just like this little money sign lets us know we're making a global variable. This one lets us know we're making a class variable. So attr writer, attr accessor, and attr reader. So these are different ways to create a class variable. So a class variable will only work inside the class. So if class robot, let's say we would call one of these plating, we can't later go into some other code, or we can't go into some other class unless the class is inherited, of course, and type at plating and be able to reference the plating from the robot. So they can only be referenced in the robot. So very simple. Basically, once class begins and ends, the class robot begins and ends, plating can be called using at plating. After that, nothing else, it can't be called anywhere else. There's ways to access it though. So let's go ahead and look at that. So right now we have attr or attribute underscore writer. So arttr underscore wirter, and that creates the, that's one way of creating a variable for the class. The difference between the three is writer means that it can be written to. It means that it can be changed outside of the class. So let's say I want to reference, let's see, what's a good one? Plating. Let's see, power mode, and actually power mode should be the reader. So I'm trying to think. Good one for this one. I know, direction. Okay, so direction facing. Anyways, make it a little clearer. So basically we have the attr writer, attr accessor, and attr reader. The difference between the three is that attr writer is something that we can write to but cannot be read from. So if now that this is all set up right here, this is legal, we can do robot. Let's see. So right here, we saved basic steel robot equals robot.new. So basically we saved this class into basic steel robot. So now that we have an instance of it, we can say basic steel robot dot, and then we follow it by the name of the variable dot direction facing. And now we can say equals north. So what we're doing right here is we're saying that the direction facing of the robot is north. So now we're accessing, we can actually read it or write it to it. Write to it means that we can pass information on to that variable inside that class. So we're passing north to this instance of this class. So just go over it. This maybe because it sounds like it's getting a bit confusing. What we did here is we created a new global variable and we assigned a new instance of the robot class to it. So a new instance allows us to be able to manipulate that particular instance and not have it affect the entire class or all the other classes that we make. So let's say basic, let's just show you how that works. We're going to basic diamond robot equals robot.new. So that's a new version of the robot. Basic steel robot, we are setting the direction facing equals to north. We have the basic diamond robot. We haven't done anything with that, but I imagine we're going to turn its plating into diamonds. So, or at least set its diamonds. Let's see, basic steel, basic diamond. What else? Attr writer. Okay, so we got attr reader. So the attr reader power mode is The reader variable basically means that it can only be read. It cannot be manipulated outside of the code. So we can't do something like this where we set the direction facing equals north. This would be an illegal operation. We couldn't do it. It wouldn't register it. It would probably pass back an error. So this would probably pass back an error. We can't do it. That's because it's on reader. That means we can only reference it. We can only check to see what it is. We can only do this in order to reference and figure out if the power mode is the right mode or something like that. So those will come in handy when we do if statements. But for now, we basically can't do something like this if it's on reader. So it's useful if you want to avoid accidentally messing up, having some sort of error down the line where you are changing things you shouldn't change. So it helps the code be much more specific. Very, very useful. You want to be as specific as possible in coding. So adder accessor is the same. Basically, this cannot be read outside. So it's the opposite of reader. Basically, readers can be read, but they cannot be changed. And adders cannot be referenced or read, but they can be changed. They can be referenced or read outside, but they can be changed. So you'll see adder writer not very often. Accessor is probably the most common. Reader, you see a few of those too. The reader is good when you don't want it to be changed from the outside. Writer is good when you want it to be changed from the outside but not accessed. So it only changes the behavior inside class robot. And accessor is good if you want both. It's very free. You might use accessor a lot in the beginning. But like I said, you want your coding to be specific. So eventually you want to use the one that meets your needs the best. And you can change these as much as you want later on if you really do need to access it. You guys are discussing with the next one, eh? I should actually detach this so that I can have it somewhere off to the side. Not too worried about it though. Okay, so I can always go over a little bit. Tell me how much you need me to go over and I can. Like I said, this is a lot to cover. And we're barely scratching the surface of anything right now. So let's see, class robot. So basically you guys know how to make a class. You know how to inherit. So now all of Thunderbot and all of Firebot are going to have these variables. So you know how to create a global variable and then assign a class, create a new instance of a class and save it into the variable. And you know how to manipulate some of these that you're allowed to manipulate outside of the coding. So you guys have a little bit of an idea there. Let's go on to adder writer, direction facing defs, or they have a bunch of different names. Def, scope. Def is probably one of the most common ones, DEF. So def followed by the name of the def, and then an end. So let's say we definitely need an initialize it. So initialize is basically when we create the class, initialize is going to be what's ran. So you always need a initialize right here. So initialize is basically after when you type robot.new, it's saying, hey, I'm being created. I need to do some stuff. So everything inside initialize will happen when it's created. And that's how initialize works. Make sure you use initialize in all your classes so that they know what to do when they're initialized. So with that def initialize, we can just do things now if we need to. All this code will be ran because it's being called when you create a new robot. So everything in here will be ran and created.